If your engine is overheating, you may be only minutes away from serious engine damage, but it doesn't always mean an expensive repair. A lot of the time it's something easy to overlook, or can just be a $10 part. In this video, I'll cover 31 possible causes of overheating. From the obvious to the ones almost nobody checks, many of these problems come down to simple cooling system issues that are easy to miss. Let's start with the coolant-related issues. First item is easy. Check the coolant level. There should be a min and a max level. The coolant level should be between the minimum and maximum. If coolant is a bit low, it's probably not your problem. Top it off and move on. But if it's empty, you may have found your overheating issue. There may not be enough coolant in the system, and this could also mean there's a leak somewhere. If your system is low, or you see leaks or suspect leaks, top it off with plain water and check for leaks while the engine is running. Check the whole system for leaks: tank, hoses, fittings, water pump, engine block. Coolant leaks will look like this. I have a link below to a good video on how to dye the coolant to help you find a leak. When adding coolant, be sure to use the right type. If you've got an older car, say pre-1995, run green coolant. If it's newer, say 1995, 2000 and up, use what the manufacturer calls for. Often it's the orange coolant like GM DexCool. For maximum cooling, consider using a specialized coolant that cools better. That's coming up. And it's not a gimmick, it actually works. And never mix green and orange. I've got links listed below for both types. Your engine could be overheating due to air trapped in the cooling system. This often happens after a coolant flush or part replacement and refill. The system must be properly bled of air. Air pockets can block circulation and create dangerous hot spots. Your best bet is to use a fill kit. I have a link below for a how-to video and a cheap fill and bleed kit. No AI clickbait here at ɡild. If you go back to my old videos, you can see I've been doing this since 2020, way before AI. Please subscribe if you appreciate that. You can use a higher pressure cap. This actually raises the boiling point of the coolant, giving you two benefits when the coolant is hot. There will be a bigger difference in temperature between the coolant and the air flowing through the radiator, so that will reject more heat and lead to better cooling. The second benefit is the higher coolant pressure can reduce localized boiling inside the heads, which also means better cooling. But be sure your system can handle the extra pressure. This is best as a last resort and for racers. Always run at least an overflow tank with a hose that goes to the bottom of the tank, so as the engine cools, it pulls the coolant back into the radiator. But GM actually stopped using this system around the late 1990s as it's not as effective as an expansion tank. Yes, consider converting your old system to a pressurized expansion tank. If your vehicle is newer than 2000 model year, it likely already uses this. This system ensures coolant is always full and free of air. It's significantly more effective than a basic overflow tank. In my LS swap book, I have a complete diagram and parts list for how to use this system in any vehicle. Consider using a coolant like Supercool or an additive like Water Wetter. Both reduce surface tension to cool 2 to 5 degrees better, links below. But neither will fix an overheating issue caused by airflow, radiator capacity, or mechanical problems. So let's move on to the next section. Few things will get your attention faster than watching the temp gauge climb towards the red. You're suddenly wondering if you're about to be stranded on the side of the road. The good news is that when your engine overheats, provides clues to finding the problem. If your car overheats when you're sitting in traffic or idling, that's almost always an airflow problem. When stopped or going slow, the system has to rely on the fan to pull air through the radiator. If that airflow isn't there, heat builds up. The likely cause of this situation is the fan. It's either failing or too weak to do its job. Or it's a bad mechanical fan clutch. Or maybe the electrical fan is not turning on from a blowed fuse or bad relay. But there are other possibilities. That's coming up. On the flip side, if your car can sit and idle all day without overheating, but starts to run hot at higher speeds, that's usually a coolant flow problem. At higher speeds, the engine is making more heat, and if the cooling system can't move enough coolant to shed that heat, the engine gets hot. This usually points to a clogged radiator, stuck thermostat, clogged internal engine coolant passages, or even a simple kinked hose. Now let's review the possible hardware issues that can make this happen. There are many different parts that can cause your engine to overheat. Some can quietly take your engine out if you miss them. A common culprit is a bad thermostat. When it fails, it may not open all the way, preventing proper coolant circulation. Thermostats can be tested, but it's a bit tricky. If it's old, just replace it. Video on how to test one linked below. The fan in your vehicle may be bad, or it's not getting enough power, or if it's a classic car project, the fan could be undersized for your engine, vehicle, or climate. Quick side note. If you're still running an older electric cooling fan, you may not realize how much fan technology has changed in just the last 10 to 15 years. Modern OEM brushless fans can move an incredible amount of air when needed, but spend most of their time running quietly at lower speeds. They're more powerful, more reliable, quieter, easier on your electrical system, and outperform almost all aftermarket fans, even ones that cost 10 times as much. Instead of cycling on and off like older fans, these continuously vary fan speed. So the fan is barely working when cooling demand is low, but it can unleash tremendous airflow when temperatures start climbing. I've also found a fully customizable controller that pairs perfectly with these fans. You set the temperature when the fan begins operating and fine-tune how aggressively it ramps up. I recently put together a 45-page guide showing how to choose, mount, wire, and control these newer brushless fans, including several new and used OEM fan options in different sizes that can be found for surprisingly cheap, like $100 for a powerful fan and shroud. If you're fighting cooling issues or planning an upgrade, check out the link below. The fan shroud can also be a problem. First of all, you must have one. It forces air through the radiator instead of flowing around it. The shroud must also fit right up against the radiator opening without rubbing on the fins. Water pumps often fail internally, and many times you won't see it from the outside. Most last around 60 to 100,000 miles or 10 to 15 years. Even new cheap aftermarket units and overseas replacements may have too much clearance between the impeller and the housing, making them inefficient. If it's old or worn, replace it, especially if you're overheating at highway speeds. Your radiator might be too small for what your engine needs. On newer stock vehicles, that's usually not the issue, but on older modified cars, it's a common problem. Radiators can also clog internally over time. If it's really old, it may be time to just replace it. Wiring can also be the issue. Long or thin wires can cause voltage drop, which slows the fan down and reduces airflow. If your engine is boiling over or leaking through the radiator cap, the cap itself could be the problem. Like a thermostat, it's a cheap and easy part to replace and worth it for peace of mind. Also, check for collapsed or kinked hoses, and while you're at it, replace any hoses that are swollen or have bubbles in them. Sometimes it's even as simple as a bad sensor not telling the fan to turn on. Again, it's another relatively cheap part that's easy to overlook, but also easy to replace. Now let's look at system layout. This is one of the most overlooked causes of overheating. People spend thousands of dollars on fancy custom radiators and fans, but sometimes the real problem is how your system is set up. Does your vehicle have anything in front of the radiator? Body panels, ducts, horns, oil cooler, transmission cooler, even an aftermarket grill can reduce airflow. Remember the flow tie GM used on the 2014 Z28? The engineers actually made the bow tie emblem hollow just to get a little bit more airflow. That's how important airflow is. Every little bit helps, especially if your engine is heavily modified or making big power. If your vehicle is custom or unique in some way, you need to pay close attention to where everything is located and how the air is flowing through. You have to make sure airflow to the radiator is maximized. Another common mistake is stacking too many coolers in front of the radiator. Transmission coolers, oil coolers, and an AC condenser can all restrict airflow. Remember, the radiator can only cool with the air that reaches it. If you do have multiple coolers, try relocating oil and trans coolers out of the way. Some racers and people who think they're racers remove the heater to simplify or clean up the engine bay or save a few pounds. But on some engines, like the LS, this can actually create cooling problems. Blocking off the heater passages will disrupt coolant flow inside the water pump. If you delete the heater, always use a proper bypass loop, or better yet, just keep the heater. Engine bays with headers, and especially turbos, will produce much more heat than a stock setup. Use shielding and reflective tape. Also consider wrapping the exhaust system or use ceramic coated headers. These will protect coolant lines and reduce engine bay temperatures. Next, consider an oil cooler. That's right, cooler oil cools the engine. Porsche used this for decades to help keep the air-cooled 911 going even into the 90s. Avoid pusher fans whenever possible. A fan mounted behind the radiator that pulls air through is usually more efficient and cools better than a fan mounted in front trying to push air through. Something to consider. Is your engine really too hot? Modern engines are designed to run hotter. Here are the temperatures to look out for. 180 was normal operating for classic cars, but modern engines run hotter. 195 is the norm, and up to 220 is still just fine. Classic cars like my 68 Camaro were done at 230, but on a modern car or engine, 240 or even 250 is finally too much. Pull over and shut the engine down and let it cool. Let's go over 7 bonus items that can really make a difference. For carbureted engines especially, but also for modified fuel-injected engines, make sure the timing is not too far off. If timing is too retarded, then combustion happens late and more heat goes into the exhaust manifolds and cylinder head. On classic cars, a bad vacuum advance is a common cause of this. Restricted exhaust flow from rusted mufflers or clogged catalytic converters can prevent heat from escaping the engine, leading to overheating. You may have the best radiator and fan, but if your engine internals are rusty and corroded and clogged with rusty chunks and other debris, then coolant cannot flow. Do a coolant flush and check for signs of debris. Consider adding extra oil capacity in the form of a larger pan or larger oil filter. This doesn't help as much as internet lore would suggest, but every little bit does help. A slipping water pump can reduce effectiveness of the water pump, so check and replace belts if needed. And this is a big one. Check your radiator and AC condenser. If they are full of road debris, clean them off. If the internals of your radiator are clogged with debris, you may need a new unit. Don't replace a radiator if the rest of your system is clogged, as the radiator will get clogged again. Be sure to flush the whole system. Also, check if the cooling fins are damaged on the outside. This will prevent air from flowing through the radiator. Do not use performance underdrive pulleys if you have overheating issues. These will slow the water pump output. In some cases, you can use a water pump overdrive, but this should be a last resort. Thank you for watching Auto ɡild, and good luck with your project. Oh, and please share this video with anyone who may have overheating issues.